All right, welcome to the Crown Council Mentor of the Month. This is Stuart Anderson. I'm joined with Lane Anderson from Prospective Marketing today. Hello, Lane.
Hi, how are you today? Good to be with you.
We're grateful to have you with us. Lane is a true expert with all things internet related, website related, mobile search related, and I've asked him, as you can see from our screen if you're watching, we're going to be talking about changes that are happening in the market that are actually affecting how people are searching, what people are watching and looking for when they find you online. And Lane is at the forefront of all of these decisions as his company is watching the changes and keeping people up to date with all of the things that are happening, whether it's Google or video or how the search engines are responding to what's out there. And so he's compiled a great list of things, and that's what we're going to do today in this Mentor of the Month, is just go through a list of what he feels is most important for all Crown Council members to know. So I'm going to be quiet most of this call, and Lane's going to take the reins and just share everything that he has. So Lane, thanks for being with us. We appreciate you and all you do for Crown Council members. So I'm going to turn the time over to you. Thanks.
Very good. Thanks, Stu. It's great to be with you today, and I hope that this will be helpful. When we look at search marketing through Google, Yahoo, Bing, the search engines, when we talk to the doctors we work with, and we work with primarily just dentists across the country and in Canada, we find that this is, for most of them, the most valuable source of new patients from external marketing. Other than what they're doing to get patient referrals, this is often for them the most important source. And so as this has continued to grow, so search marketing that need to be managed, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, the local listings, video posting and optimization. There are other things as well, but those are some of the major ones. And what's been interesting in the last few years is that the complexity of every one of those has been continuing to increase. And so just staying on top of all of that complexity in all those different areas as it's continuing to change, that change has been pretty fast-paced. But as we look at that change, we see opportunity. If we can be aware of those changes and respond to them quickly and nimbly, it spells some opportunity that keeps us out on the front edge of what's happening online in search and giving us a better opportunity to reach those consumers. So whether you are doing your own search marketing or whether you're hiring an agency to help you, we hope that these things will be helpful to you to understand those things that are changing. Some of these you may be aware of, some are fairly, very, very recent, some are fairly recent. And so I hope these will be helpful. We're going to talk about the 10 most significant ones and how they're impacting that and what you can do to respond to that and be out in the front. So with that, let's jump in.
Let's do it. Very good.
The first of those that we're going to talk about is the rise of mobile search. We've seen a great increase in mobile search lately, and if you look at what's happened over the last 4 years, there's been pretty significant increase. We tracked all of the searches done by prospects for our dental practices over the last 4.5 years. We began tracking that on this particular tracking in the beginning of January of 2014. And you can see this orange line that represents the growth in mobile. This started at about 22% of searches back in early 2014. And I can tell you that most of those searches were probably your existing patients looking for the phone number or address so that they could get to the office. That has changed dramatically. And you can see over the last 4.5 years through September of 2018, that has grown to 55% of the searches across all our practices. And desktop has declined from about 67%, which was by far the majority, now down to about 40% of searches. And tablets are amounting to about, used to be 10%, down to about 5%. You say, why is that happening? Well, there are a number of reasons. One of those is that the number of mobile phones that are being purchased has increased dramatically. Those screens are larger, resolution's better. At the same time, Google has been pushing website owners to make mobile a better experience. So they've been encouraging website owners to make their website show up better on a mobile phone. And as a result, when we go to search on a mobile phone, it's much easier. We get to have a better experience. We can actually access information. And as a result of that, people are having a better search experience. The good news is that when you look at the conversion rates off mobile compared to desktop, they're actually about a third higher, which means, and likewise, better than tablet. So this is working in our favor as more and more people go and do searches on mobile. More of them are inclined to contact the office and the conversion rates are better. So what can we do about that then? There are several things that can help us respond to that change better. The first is to make sure that our website is built in responsive design. And this has been the case for the last 3 years, certainly. Google basically made that a requirement to avoid getting docked in the search results. But it's important to make sure that you are using the same content that's available on desktop is also presented on mobile phones, and that your mobile site isn't a dumbed down version of your existing website. Otherwise, there's a lot of content that consumers won't see. Most importantly, make sure that the tools that you're using on that website for them to contact you make it really easy. A simple thing you can do, for example, is to make sure you've got a clickable phone number. So that when they are on their phone, they can click that number that's showing on your website and it'll automatically call. They don't have to re-enter that phone number in order to contact you. Also, we've just recently, in the past year, added a texting tool for our doctors so that people can text the office and respond to that on a desktop. And there are other companies that are working with, patient reminder systems that have introduced a texting tool. And it's a great way to add convenience to that use of a mobile phone so that they can contact you really easily. Sometimes they may be in a circumstance where it's hard to call, or maybe just for convenience, being able to text you back and forth. So that's another way to make that contact easier, in addition to being able to call you or to send you an email. Now, one thing other to consider is when you look at that screen now on a mobile phone and you do a search, probably the only thing you're going to see initially are 2 pay-per-click ads. And so by the time you get down to the organic search results or the non-paid ads or non-paid listings that come from your search engine optimization, they're going to have to go down a long, long way to get to that portion of the page, which is making those pay-per-click ads much, much more important. There are usually 1 to 4 pay-per-click ads at the top of those search results. And being in that space is becoming increasingly important, because otherwise they've got to scroll through those. They may have to scroll through 3 local listings with the map before they ever get to the organic search results. And so those ads can help get you in front of people more easily and more quickly when they're searching on a phone. It's also changed some opportunity with the words that we use in those pay-per-click ads. Near me kinds of keywords have just exploded in the last year or two. And cosmetic dentist near me, we've even seen dental practices that have incorporated near me into their name. It's become so important. So it's important to consider now additional ways that people might be searching that they weren't doing before. Now, when they're out on the run, they might just type in emergency dental office near me, and Google will serve up search results that are near their location. And having those keywords as part of your pay-per-click advertising, in addition to the normal things that'll happen because of where you are, will help them find you better. Another change related to this is the mobile first index that Google has gone to. So when I talk about an index, I'm talking about kind of the collection of all of the search results. And over the last few years, Google has had a desktop index, or in other words, the search results for a desktop search. And they've had a separate set of search results that they developed for mobile searches. And Google announced that this year they were going to change over to a mobile first index, meaning that whatever your search results are for mobile are going to be the same search results they'll see on desktop. In other words, there's going to be one set of search results skewed toward what they see on a mobile phone. So two important implications of this. One, important to be sure that your mobile version of your website is well optimized, and that it's easy to use, that it's easy to get around, and that it organically, the search engine optimization has been done on that mobile version of the site. One of the things that Google also announced this year was that in July, they were going to make load time on a mobile phone a factor in your search engine optimization. So it's important to pay attention to that. Some of the things that we're doing now to improve websites with more visual content, more video, are things that are slowing down that speed. At the same time, there are things that can be done to optimize those so that they'll load quickly. So it's important to pay attention and know what that load speed time is. Ideally, you'd like consumers to be able to interact with that in 3 seconds or less. Sometimes that's a real challenge to get to that fast a speed, but important opportunity to make sure that your website is loading quickly on a mobile phone.
Lane, so you're saying that if your website does not load, you actually could be bumped down in search results?
That's right. They've made that a factor in the search engine optimization rankings.
Wow.
And one thing I would say, they've downplayed this a little and said, okay, you know, it's only if your site's really, really slow are we going to penalize you when they introduced this in January. But most importantly, realize that that is now a factor, and if you're not paying attention to how fast that website loads, that could be hurting you in the future.
Wow.
A third area that has continued to grow is the increase in voice search. And if you think about the tools that have been around for a little while, Siri, Cortana, other tools that you can use from your cell phone to search by voice, add to that all the other tools that have been added that are deliberate voice search kinds of tools. um, that has made it easier for us to just ask without typing into a cell phone or desktop or anything. And that's changing what and how people search. For example, you think about Echo or Alexa. If you're asking it something, you more often will ask a question versus saying certain keywords, right? Where can I find a good cosmetic dentist? Or what's the best solution for missing teeth? And so if you can think about how you're structuring the content site to respond to those longer queries, both in terms of content on your website as well as things that you put into pay-per-click advertising, using longer search phrases, putting more content on our pages. And there's a shift we are seeing from telling people about things to answering key questions. So think about that. It's growing rapidly. There are estimates that suggest that that is going to become a majority of the way people search within even 2 or 3 years. So important to consider that putting content on your site as well as what you're optimizing for and what you're using in your pay-per-click ads. This area, in terms of Google and Google Ads, has changed dramatically in the last few months. Google changed the name from AdWords to Google Ads this year, and they have added both extended ads as well as responsive text ads. And here are a couple of things you can consider, and if you've got someone who's doing this for you, maybe some opportunities there to work with them, to encourage them to test some things in your behalf. But they've given us characters to work with, so 2 headlines instead of 30 and 30 characters, now 40 and 40 characters, and text copy of up to 90 characters. And in addition to those base ads, Google introduced more extensions that are ways of adding more information. And we find sometimes we can be successful in what would normally be maybe a 3-line ad, extending that to as many as 7 or even 8 lines of copy. And you think about what we just talked about with a mobile phone. If you've got 8 lines of copy, you're going to pretty much dominate that screen. It may be most of what consumers see on a mobile phone screen before they even get to the next ad. So those extensions are becoming a very important way of dominating that screen and making sure that you're prominent on that page. Google just recently announced a test of what they call responsive ads. And these are ads where you provide them multiple headlines, multiple versions of the body copy, and they mix and match to get you the optimal response online. So that's another kind of new area that will be an opportunity to test and find ways to make those more available to reach consumers the most effective way. A 5th area that's changing rapidly is audience targeting. And for a long time, basically the key thing that we had to target audience was really to make sure that we are focusing on the keywords that are going to best target the intent of the consumer. Google has now introduced ways to target demographics. And understand that this will help to some degree. It is not developed to the extent that every ad will have access to that demographic data. As we've asked them, to what extent this affects it, they've said maybe 30% of the, roughly of the contact you might have this information available. So it's an opportunity perhaps to zero in on you're most interested in attracting to your practice. And they have some aged demographic data, in some cases, household income, sometimes that's by zip code, gender, and geography. And of course, geography they can zero in on much better. But you can put premium on those ads so that if someone is hitting your target, you say, I'll be willing to pay a premium to reach those people, and you're more likely to get them. And usually if you have a good feel for what your demographics are and the kind of patient you want to act, the premium will be well worth it, because you'll get a good return. You're zeroing in on the people that are most interested. Another opportunity with regards to targeting is to take these people who have searched and visited your site and reserve up to them some display ads that will hopefully attract them back to your website. Remarketing is an opportunity where the search engines can track or a service can track those people that came to your site but didn't convert. Now, typically, the conversion rate on a website will be 2 to 3% of people that will visit and contact you. You think about that other maybe 7% of the people that visit, and some of those will be you and your existing patients, but there are all people who are new prospects that visit and don't convert. And so if you can serve them up another display ad as they're searching elsewhere on the internet, they see that and it's a reminder, oh yeah, I visited that practice, and hopefully bring them back to reach you again. And so that's an opportunity. Now, we usually have to use outside companies to do this because Google has some policies against remarketing field. Just due to privacy concerns. And so usually there are some other great services that will help do that and bring your presence back to those people again as they're searching elsewhere on the internet.
Nice. Very good.
A sixth area is the development of artificial intelligence and machine learning in search. And this is becoming a growing area that's a number of areas as it relates to search, and a great opportunity as that develops. What we're finding in the search engines, for example, particularly with Google, is that search engine optimization has grown much more sophisticated in how Google is ranking you for related words. So, for example, a couple years ago, and particularly 5 or 6 years ago, you could optimize a page simply by getting lots of mentions of a specific keyword, like if you're optimizing your dental implants page, keyword was peppered through your copy numerous times. And it just appeared a lot. And we call word stuffing, where you just make sure it's on there a lot. Now, Google will look at the content of that page and more subtly be able to make associations through that artificial intelligence of keywords that are related, and focusing content. It would look at those and then discern what that page is about. So one of the ways that we respond to that in terms of our content is to make sure that the content on a given page is focused about one content, one subject. And even though we may be using a variety of keywords to describe that, why we might have dental implants, teeth implants, dental implant, and a whole variety of keywords that will focus in that copy around that topic. But if we keep it focused on dental implants and don't introduce a lot of other things, that help zero in that copy. It's also affecting pay-per-click opportunities. There are increasingly sophisticated tools being developed that will figure out what is converting best and make decisions in terms of what are the right things that will help convert the best. So this is affecting pay-per-click tools in terms of which keywords may be in a campaign best and serving those up, or ads that are converting better, or combinations of things that are helping to develop the best possible outcome for you. So I think that is a new frontier that is rapidly developing, and opportunities to help you to get even more value out of the money you're investing in pay-per-click. A seventh area that has changed quite a bit recently has been the persuasiveness and importance of video in search. And it has some importance in both conversion as well as in being found and in search. So one of the opportunities with video, of course, is the opportunity to be able to use story and add some feeling to what people are learning about your practice on your website. So become much prominent. You see a lot more video being introduced into websites just because of its opportunity to really tell people about your practice and give them a feel for the personality of your practice. But there's also opportunity to optimize that video for sure, for search. And with the increase in mobile, what we're seeing is that it's having sometimes placement in the organic search results. So very often those videos a string of them will show listings. There will be a string of videos sometimes that'll show. Sometimes they'll show in the search results, in the organic results, but sometimes above those. So you can optimize those videos, put them on YouTube and optimize them so that they will also show for search. That could be an opportunity to also create more than you would have otherwise. Another important area is the expansion of Google My Business and what's happened with those local listings. You may have recently received a notice that your Google Plus page was going to be deleted if you haven't had any activity on it recently. Google's moving away from Google Plus, pretty much given up on it, and are starting to close those Google Plus listings down. Compensating for that, they've given us much more flexibility to be able to add content to your Google My Business listing, which is what shows up with the Google Maps. You can put a description in there. In January, they announced that you could now post 30-second videos. We've had success getting posted on Google listings this year, and sometimes even longer than 30, but they're at least allowing us to add videos as well as photos. Another great opportunity for you is Google Posts that are on your local listing in Google. You can put a picture as well as an offer on those posts. And they have two different kinds, a coupon or an event. And the event has a time frame on it, usually about 6 months, that you can put a special or some kind of promotion office. And because they allow those pictures with it, it really pulls your eye into that offer. So that's a great opportunity for you as well. One of the more recent additions has been the Q&A section. So if you haven't looked at your Google listing recently, you might want to do so, because they have a place that people can actually go in and ask you questions, and you can provide responses to them online. So it's a good idea on that local listing if someone isn't doing that for you, and make sure that when there are questions there that you can respond to them and get some response to your to new prospects that might be interested in what you have to offer. There's some very important changes that are occurring with regards to reviews, and here are some things that you can do to respond to that. Google, for example, is screening more of their reviews. We've seen doctors lose some reviews online for various reasons. One that's well known, that's been the case for a while, is if you have your patients who are writing reviews and they're using your IP address or your Wi-Fi, they'll see that there are multiple reviews coming from the same location and they'll pull those off. However, we've seen actively screening reviews, and if they see anything that is contrary to their policies, then they will sometimes disqualify those and pull them off. For example, it's against Google and Yelp policy for employees to write reviews. And that is common in a lot of offices. And we say, well, they're patients of the office too, but if they see that they're employees, they'll disqualify those. Now that can also help you if you have a former employee that tries to write a review about the practice. You can get those removed because they're against Google policy. But just be aware that Google's a little more vigilant, and we've seen them remove reviews if consumers have written multiple reviews, or if they're employees, or just recently they said they were going to remove some very, very old reviews that don't have a name and just say a Google user. And so sometimes those have been pulled out. Most importantly, current reviews are critical in the research that we've seen. Consumers are looking for the star rating. They're looking for how many reviews that you have posted. And we feel like it's important to get up into that 100, 150 range of reviews and create that kind of credibility that we're beyond friends and family, and there are really a lot of people that really like this practice. But in addition to that, they do look for recency, and they want to know that people who've come there in the last week or month or couple of months are as happy as the people that came 2 or 3 years ago. One of the things that's developed in Yelp in the last year is their pretty firm policy about are not asking directly for reviews. So last fall, they made a policy that they were not going to work with any review tools any longer, and those have pretty well been removed as an option on most review tools. So they don't want you to ask reviews. They hope that those will come naturally as people visit. Now, in a lot of areas of the country, Yelp is really not as much of a factor as it might be in others where it's well developed. little more developed on the West Coast, for example, than it is on the East Coast. However, it's still important to develop good reviews on Yelp, in that Yelp reviews show up in Yahoo and Bing, as well as Siri with the iPhone. So they get more distribution than whether or not people actually go to Yelp. With Facebook, a very recent change that's just occurred in the last month or two has been the moving away. So you may have noticed, if you've gone on Facebook recently to write a review, that they don't give you the option to give the practice a star rating any longer. It's a simple question of, would you recommend this practice? And so they're, for now, are keeping the star ratings that are there already, opportunity to add to those reviews that have stars. So that's kind of changing the complexion of Facebook reviews quite a bit. Finally, it's important to remember that good content moves people, and important to consider the things that you can do with regards to content. We're seeing a move towards, for example, longer service pages. We've gone through an evolution in the last 5 years of, a lot of copy, very gray looking pages, to adding a lot of visual content in the way of photos and videos, and not as much copy. Now the trend is much more towards longer service pages that incorporate all of that copy as well as that visual content. So here are a few things that you can do. Think about talking to your patients, and what are the questions that they usually ask you when you come in for an appointment and are considering a new service. What are some of those questions that they ask, and are there ways of answering those questions or uncertainties right while they're on that page, rather than making them look all over the website to find those answers? A good example of that is your smile gallery. Yeah, most websites have a smile gallery, right? And we have to go there to see those after photos, or just after photos, and go look for those testimonials. Why not include some of those on a service page? So if you have a service page that's talking about CEREC crowns, or is talking about porcelain veneers, why not show an after photo there with a brief 2 or 3 line testimonial under it that would help someone see what a difference it's made in someone else's life, have that service improve their smile. Another thing you can do is take that information that you've thought about in terms of questions that people ask, and answer those right on the service page, rather than taking them to another page to do that. So maybe down at the bottom of that page, you might have even a frequently asked questions section that answers some of those concerns that people might have. The more we can do to just make that information readily available right there while they're searching, without them having to click around, that can help us improve our conversion rate of people contacting us. Another often overlooked opportunity are very focused blog articles. It's interesting to think about, we use those as a tool to help with search engine optimization. It brings the search engines back more frequently when they know that there's new content going on your site all the time. We've noticed recently, though, that some of those blog articles are actually attracting a significant amount of traffic when they are focused in a particular area. So if you think about unique areas of your press that might be particular interest, then maybe there's an opportunity to focus some very specific blog articles about that topic or service. And sometimes Google will pick that up as part of a little information question and answer section that you'll sometimes see on the search results. And if it answers a question, it might get picked up in that information block, and it's a ton of traffic. Not all of it will convert, but it does add credibility to your site from the search engines. And we're seeing in some cases, it's attracting an audience that's actually converting as well. So that's an opportunity beyond just routine blog articles, having some very focused and maybe a little more unusual subject that other dental practices might not be addressing. So as you consider those 10 things, realize that entire process that we're going through to reach new prospects that are interested in what we have to offer, and being able to be found, to be contacted, and then converting those patients, looking at that whole process and tracking and using that information from that tracking to improve our marketing and to reach them even more effectively is going to effectively grow your practice and help you to find new prospects for your practice profitably. So if I can be of any help in terms of answering questions that you might have, know that that's something I'm glad to do, and here's my contact information where you can reach me easily.
It's the one thing, Lane, that I love that you do is that you're very focused on the results of the marketing as you track what's actually happening, rather than just sticking with what's worked in the past. I love that you're always looking at and tracking and then reviewing with your customers how it's working and what's working. I think it's a really different approach when you look at how other marketing companies work when you give them money. I've loved having these things that you share because they're so relevant and up to date, because you're seeing them happen in the people that you work with. I mean, this is so relevant, and I love the action items that you gave. So a lot of great information today that I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Stu. That tracking and analysis have been the key to being able to make it better, because we know what's happening on the back end, not just stopping there, as you've said, not just stopping it. Is it generating leads, but is it genuinely converting in the practice?
Yeah.
And working effectively.
Very good. Well, I encourage you to reach out to Lane. He'll join us as always at the annual event, where you can meet with him or connect with him with his contact information. For those listening, Lane can be called at 877-322-4440, extension 101, or you can send him an email at landerson@prospectamarketing.com, and that is spelled PROSPECTAMARKETING, Prospecta Marketing. So thank you, Lane. Unless there's anything left to share, I think this is a good stopping point, as I appreciate you as always being with us.
Thank you, Stu. It's great to be with you, and hope this will be very helpful and helping Crown Council members improve their marketing.
Thanks, Lane.